That chippy moment with Solana at halftime that led to the double text.
I was just trying. Oh, did I get a technical? You did. Oh, no way. Oh, it just makes sense for the refs tonight, so I'm not surprised. Wow. Wow, I could have got ejected. I should have been a little safer in the second half. Okay, well, guess I have some fines coming my way. And a flagrant. Wow. Well, the refs were interesting, but I'm not going to say anything else because obviously I got probably $1,000 worth of fines coming my way, but I was just trying to get the rebound, and I didn't know I got a technical foul, but thanks for letting me know. I appreciate it.
Did you catch Tiffany Hayes and Caitlin Clark talking a little trash tonight? I honestly loved it. Tiffany Hayes was being super physical all game, talking a little, smiling a little, and Caitlin, she wasn't backing down at all. But I'll say this, Clark is back. And a little chirp and a little attitude, that's good for the league.
Fever win, 90-82. Not the most exciting game on earth. And the frustrating part was we really played at their pace. Like, we didn't bring the Fever pace out at Gainsburg. And we just played like the Valkyries did, nice and slow, which it worked for the Valkyries, but I don't know. I think that's one of our secret weapons, or not so secret, is how fast that we play. So that was odd to watch, but it was really sloppy. So many turnovers by both of us, by Golden State and by ours, back and forth, and it's kind of messy. And then when she pulled out Caitlin at I think the score was 7-6 or 7-7, which seemed quick to pull her out, and that has me thinking that maybe her back is worse than we know. I don't know, but she got back in and she played solid minutes. She scored, I want to say 21, 22 points with 9 assists, so she almost got a double-double. Boston did get a double-double. She's been looking good coming back. She's in the 20s as well with 15 rebounds, so she's had a solid game on both ends. And Mitchell, I think she had 19 or so. So she did well. And they had Gabby. I think Burton probably did the best for them. Gabby didn't play as well, or at least my brain right now is remembering that. She didn't play as well. The standout for me, Burton. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know. The main thing I noticed is we're not using our pace, and that's our secret weapon. Actually, I shouldn't say secret. Everybody knows it. That's a weapon of ours. And so if we have to play somebody else's pace, then that's already going to put us at a disadvantage. And it was just sloppy back and forth and turnovers left and right, and not just Caitlin turnovers, guys. It was everybody. It was from the Valkyries and the Fever. It was just ugly ball in the beginning. Yeah, and then getting Caitlin out, so early just kind of scared me with her back. But she got back in. We did well. We got the job done. 90 points. That's still good. That's a good job. We didn't do well on our free throws like we had been. We didn't do horrible, but we just came from a game that we were 22-22. And so when we're looking ugly after that, it stands out. But we got the W. That's all that matters. Three-star players, right? Mitchell, Boston, and Caitlin. And they all put in solid performances. Luckily, the ugly play by the Fever was matched by the ugly play with Golden State. And we were able to come out on top. So a win's a win. We'll take it. We'll only go up from here.
You just watched Caitlin Clark pull up from the logo, not the three-point line, not a step inside half court. The actual logo, dead center of the floor, drain it like it was a free throw, and then walk straight into Tiffany Hayes' personal space and dare her to say something about it. That is not a basketball play. That is a statement. That is a woman who spent weeks being managed, being rested, being benched at the wrong times, and handled with kid gloves by an organization that still hasn't figured out what it has. Coming back onto the floor and reminding every single person in that building, and every single person watching at home, exactly who she is. Welcome to Street Hoops. I'm Dre Fiver, and today we are breaking down the triumphant, fire-breathing, logo-bombing return of Caitlin Clark. and everything it means for the Indiana Fever, for the WNBA, and for every player who thought they were going to test her today. Let's set the scene properly, because context is everything on this channel. The Indiana Fever hosting the Golden State Valkyrie. Caitlin Clark coming off a stretch where the organization had her sitting, had her resting, had her managing load in ways that frustrated fans, confused analysts, and, if we're being honest, probably frustrated Clark herself more than she's ever going to say publicly. The arena was ready. The crowd was ready. And Caitlin Clark, from the very first possession, made it absolutely clear that she had been storing something up during that time on the bench, and she was going to spend every minute of this game spending it. Final score, Indiana Fever 90, Golden State Valkyrie 82. Caitlin Clark, 22 points, 9 assists, 2 rebounds, 2 steals. And if you want my personal Dre Fiver opinion on those 9 assists, she should have had 11 and a double-double. And the fact that she didn't is one of the most Stephanie White things that has happened this season. But we're going to get to that. We are absolutely going to get to that. First, let's talk about what Caitlin Clark actually did on this basketball court. Because the numbers, as good as they are, don't capture the full story. The logo 3. I have to spend real time on this because I don't think casual fans fully appreciate how absurd that shot is in a live game situation. We're not talking about a heat check 3 after a 1-0 run. We're not talking about a desperation heave at the buzzer. We're talking about Caitlin Clark in a tied game, receiving the ball at half-court distance, reading the defense, making a conscious decision that she was going to shoot that basketball from that location, and executing it with the kind of mechanical precision that most players can't replicate on a practice court with nobody guarding them. That is elite shooting. That is elite confidence. And the fact that she then turned around and got in Tiffany Hayes' face afterward, that's elite mentality. That's the part you can't coach. That's the part you either have or you don't. And Caitlin Clark, in case you somehow still needed convincing, absolutely has it. Now let's talk about what happened after that logo 3, because the Tiffany Hayes storyline from this game is genuinely one of the more entertaining subplots of the WNBA season so far. Hayes is a veteran. She's been in this league. She knows how to play. She came in with energy, got physical with Clark, got in her space, and clearly had some words at the half-court exchange. And Caitlin Clark responded in the most devastating way possible. Not with a shove, not with more words, with a basketball in the basket from 30-something feet away, followed by a death stare. And from that moment on, according to the box score, and according to anyone who watched this game, Tiffany Hayes fell apart. Couldn't hit a layup. Couldn't find rhythm. Completely consumed by the psychological aftermath of getting cooked by Clark at her own trash talk game. That is what happens when you poke the wrong bear. That is the Caitlin Clark dark side, and I am here for every second of it. Let me walk you through the Valkyries box score because it tells a story all by itself, and that story is called What Happens When Caitlin Clark Decides She's Not Taking Losses Today. Gabby Williams, 2 for 8 from the field, 0 for 3 from 3. Veronica Burton, 4 for 12. Janelle Salone, 1 for 8. I want you to sit with that. 1 for 8, Kayla Charles, 0 for 6. Kia Stokes, 1 for 4. Folks, I've seen better shooting performances at a middle school free throw contest. The Valkyrie, as a team, were throwing up mid-range attempts like they owed somebody money and missed. Anyway, off the backboard, off the bottom of the rim, air balls. It was, to borrow a phrase, bad. It was bad, bad, bad. And some of that credit, a large portion of that credit, goes directly to the defensive intensity that the Fever brought in the second half when they tightened up and made Golden State's offense look like it was operating in quicksand. Now, to be fair, the Valkyrie were coming off a back-to-back situation. Fatigue is real. But here's my editorial take. If you're a professional athlete coming into a game against Caitlin Clark, coming off a back-to-back does not excuse shooting 1 for 8. At some point, you have to make a layup. Janelle Salone, with all due respect, has to make a layup. That's just a floor-level expectation of anyone playing professional basketball at any level. The fact that she couldn't get it done today speaks more to how locked in the Fever's defense was than to anything else. Now let me give credit where it is absolutely due on the Indiana side, because this channel doesn't just pile on. We also celebrate when things go right. Aaliyah Boston, 20 points, 16 rebounds. Let me say that again, 20 points, 16 rebounds. In a WNBA game, Aaliyah Boston went out there and had herself an absolutely dominant night. And here's the thing, that's exactly what this team needs from her every single night. Not some nights, not when she feels like it. Every night, 18 or more points, 10 or more rebounds. That is the AB standard. That is what she's capable of. That is what makes this Fever team genuinely threatening when she brings it. And when you pair that kind of interior presence with Caitlin Clark running the pick and roll and creating two-man game opportunities, that is a scary offensive combination. We saw glimpses of it today, and it was beautiful. Kelsey Mitchell finished with 19 points. And I know that sounds great on paper, but I have to be honest with you the way I'm always honest with you on this channel. Kelsey Mitchell was quiet for long stretches of this game. That 19 came largely from the free throw line, where she had 11 attempts. 11 free throw attempts. Now, some of those were legit foul calls, but some of them, and I watched this game, I watched the replay, some of them were the referees deciding that if a Valkyrie defender was anywhere in the zip code of Kelsey Mitchell, that constituted a foul. Kelsey got bailed out a couple of times today, and that's fine. Working the officials is a skill, but I want more from her in terms of actual field goal efficiency before I start crowning the Kelsey Mitchell performance. The real story on the Fever side, beyond Clark and AB, was the lineup that Stephanie White ran with Raven Johnson. Raven Johnson, Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, Lexi Hull, and Aaliyah Boston. That five, when that unit was on the floor together, the Fever offense looked like something completely different. Movement, ball movement, two-man game between Clark and Boston, Raven Johnson pushing pace in transition and creating easy opportunities for everyone around her. Sophie Cunningham coming off screens and hitting shots. That is the blueprint. That is what this team can look like when everything is functioning correctly. And the fact that we're still in a place where we're calling it a glimpse rather than a consistent identity is one of the more frustrating narratives of this season. Shout out to Sophie Cunningham, 11 points off the bench. Sophie came alive in the second half and gave the Fever exactly what they needed from their bench unit. She's not going to put up crazy stat lines every night, but she competes, she hits open threes when Clark draws the defense, and she plays with an edge that this team needs. Raven Johnson, 7 points on the night, but her impact went far beyond the box score. When Johnson is pushing pace and playing with confidence, the entire Fever offense breathes differently. The spacing improves. The decision-making speeds up. Clark gets better looks because the defense has to account for another threat in transition. It's not complicated basketball theory. It's just good basketball. And then there's the Caitlin Clark evolution conversation, because this is something that goes beyond this single game and speaks to what she's developing into as a player at this level. The logo threes are obviously the signature moment everyone is talking about. But what I want to draw your attention to, what the real film watchers are going to notice, is the expansion of her finishing package inside. The spin move to the baseline pull-up. The floater runner jumper thingamajig, as it was so eloquently described that she used for her first points of the night. That shot. That little mid-range runner where she uses her footwork and body control to get separation and finish over length, that shot is new. Or at the very least, it's more consistent and more deliberate than we've seen it before. That means defenders can no longer just sag off her and dare her to drive because they know she's not comfortable finishing at the rim. She's comfortable finishing at the rim now. She's comfortable finishing in the mid-range now, combined with the logo 3 range she's always had. She's a genuine 3-level scorer. That is a nightmare matchup at any level of basketball. Now I have to address the elephant in the room, the 9 assists. 9. She had 9 assists, 1 away from a double-double. And according to what was reported and described about this game, as Clark was approaching that mark, as she was sitting at 9 and had a real shot at getting number 10 in the fourth quarter, Stephanie White pulled her, sat her down on the bench. 9 assists, close enough to touch the double-double. Benched. Now, Stephanie White and her supporters are going to say this was about rest, about managing her minutes, about making smart decisions with her health in mind given everything that happened earlier in the season. And I'll acknowledge that argument. I'll give it the airtime it deserves. But here's my counter. There is a moment in every great player's performance where you feel it, where the game is flowing, where everything is clicking, where the player is locked into something special. And you do not interrupt that moment for theoretical load management reasons. You don't. If she's healthy enough to be on the floor, she's healthy enough to chase a double-double. That's just the reality of competitive basketball. And here's the broader issue that this moment represents. It feeds directly into the narrative about Stephanie White's relationship with Caitlin Clark's greatness, whether it's intentional or not. And I want to be clear, I'm not accusing anyone of anything malicious. The pattern of decisions around Clark's playing time, her statistical milestones, her most dangerous offensive moments, consistently works against maximizing what she does. Whether that's the load management announcement an hour before tip-off, whether that's rotation decisions that take her off the floor at inopportune moments, whether it's failing to run the two-man game with her and Aaliyah Boston consistently. The cumulative effect of all those decisions is a ceiling being placed on what this team can be. And Caitlin Clark, I would bet everything I have, feels that ceiling every single day. Let me talk about the dark side for a second, because this is a conversation that I think deserves more nuance than it usually gets. There's been commentary, and it showed up clearly in the game against the Valkyrie, about Caitlin Clark being more aggressive, more physical, more willing to engage in the gritty, confrontational moments of basketball. The screen she set on Veronica Burton, the trash talk with Tiffany Hayes, the intensity in her eyes every time she was challenged. People are calling it the dark side. Clark Vader, as it's been dubbed with affection. And I love it. I genuinely love it. Because here's the truth about great players. They need that darkness. They need that edge. They need to be able to access that place where winning matters more than anything else, and the competitive fire overrides every other consideration. Michael Jordan had it. Kobe Bryant had it. LeBron James has it in a different way. More cerebral, more strategic. But the edge is there. The great ones all have a version of it. And what we saw against the Valkyrie was Caitlin Clark not playing through a sports psychologist framework, not playing with the carefully managed persona of a franchise ambassador, playing with raw, unfiltered competitive instinct, playing without overthinking, playing like she was back on a playground, where all that mattered was the next bucket, and you'd better not disrespect her while she's getting it. When she plays like that, when she plays without the weight of everyone's expectations and organizational politics and coaching philosophies pressing down on her, she is absolutely unguardable. Not difficult to guard, not challenging to guard. Unguardable. Full stop. The flagrant foul call on the screen was, by the way, one of the worst referee decisions I've seen this season. A hard screen is a legal and fundamental part of basketball. Setting a tough screen on a ball handler is not a flagrant foul. It is basketball. The fact that Veronica Burton then missed the free throw from the flagrant call, and the referees in what might be the most incompetent administrative moment of the year gave her additional free throws because Fever players weren't on the floor, is almost too absurd to describe. Almost. I'm describing it anyway, because you need to know this is the officiating environment that Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever are operating in. Every single night. It's a war out there in more ways than one.